Dave Smith Unleashed, courtesy of our great sponsor, MTS Transportation. So we are live doing our first video podcast from Rokka Whiskey Bar and Grill in beautiful downtown Bellflower, California. The whole MTS Transportation crew is here. Look at them back there. Look at this handsome crew from MTS. For all your freight, shipping, and trucking needs, make sure you go to MTS Transportation. Now, kind enough to hang around here and join us for another show. The great Steve Kim. We're going to talk a little bit of boxing now after our college football segment. And lots happening in the square circle. So first of all, Canelo and Bud coming up on the 13th of September.
Dave, are you picking the upside? Oh, my God. Why? Tell me why.
Who has Canelo always had trouble with?
Movement, skill, and athleticism. Okay, that.
Erislandy Lara. Triple G, who had a good job and was a good boxer. Floyd Mayweather schooled him.
Yeah.
He fought. And he's on the downside. You seen his last couple of fights? I know he's 168. I know he's a lot stronger and hits harder than Bud. I think Bud.
You don't think size matters? Because that's the only thing. If they were literally fighting at their most natural weights and they were within a weight class, I mean, think about it.
Well, the first time Canelo clips him, we're going to learn a lot.
We are, but Canelo was good enough to at least beat a faded version of Kovalev at 75.
Yep.
Bivol was a terrible matchup, but he's still been at 75. Look, I am so tempted to take Crawford. Because one thing Crawford's going to do that the last 3-4 guys.
He's going to school him like Floyd Mayweather.
Well, not only that, but to paraphrase Herman Edwards, he's going to play to win the game. Hello, I think it was disgusting, some of these non-efforts of some of the more recent Canelo opponents. If I was Teddy Brenner, the old matchmaker, I would have threatened not to pay these guys. It was a non-performance. Crawford is the ultimate competitor.
Berlanga.
Oh, that was the worst.
And the
Charlo. These guys came to collect a paycheck. I believe Crawford plays to win the game.
He's out there to win the fight. And I've read, Steve, I saw him working out the other day. He's about 175 pounds. He's still cut. He still has abs. He looks good. I think he walks around 75.
He's got natural country strength, and he actually has a wrestling background. So those guys have like a different type of strength.
If Canelo hits him and can't hurt him early, he is in trouble.
Yeah, and if you can't touch him, Doug Fisher said this. Doug Fisher.
Bud hurt him. Hits him on the chin.
I don't, but I don't think that's the plan. Doug Fisher was out there in Saudi Arabia when Canelo fought William Skull. So when you watch a fight live, it is different than watching on TV. And I'll give you an example later. He thought that it was very evident and clear that Canelo had lost a step, that he had gone backwards physically. And I'll tell you where it's analogous. I remember being there in person at the StubHub Soccer Stadium. Oscar De La Hoya thought he was preparing for the rematch with Floyd Mayweather. So this is summer of 2008. He fought Steve Forbes, who had that style.
Oscar didn't look good then.
And I remember watching that fight, and I'm sitting next to somebody, and I said, man, Floyd's going to really win this rematch handily. Floyd ends up retiring to get out of the rematch. He thought he was being really smart. Freddie Roach was on the other side of the ring. He told me that night, oh, my God, I got a guy that can beat him. It was Manny Pacquiao. And you saw what happened. And the famous story, but this one is when Hagler's battling Mugabe, and he looks a half step slow the first 4 rounds. Ray Leonard's out there right next to Michael J. Fox, and he's, I could beat that guy. And Michael J. Fox, you're crazy. And he says, I see some stuff there. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a mirage, maybe it's wishful thinking. I do know one thing about Crawford. Not only is he tough, he's incredibly intelligent inside that ring, Dave. I don't think it's about hurting him. It's about never really putting himself in danger for too long.
Like it's Erislandy Lara, Floyd Mayweather. I thought he lost the first 2 fights to Triple G, Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah.
Guys who can box, move on him, keep the jab in his face. Now, I know people are going to say, well, Bud moved up to 54. Madrimov, that was the name of the guy.
Israel Madrimov last summer.
Fought him at 54. It was a close fight. One judge scored it a draw, and he said, well, at 54, he's struggling with this Russian guy. How is he going to take on Canelo? But it's different stuff. He keeps his head in your chest. He pressures you. He's got a granite chin. Canelo's more of a counterpuncher, isn't he?
Not only is he...
Quiet. They're serving...
No, hold on. This is an important thing here. Hold on.
We get to the important stuff. You've got an Irishman here with alcohol.
Yeah, that's not Gatorade. So...
Thank you, sir.
Here's a question, though. Based on the history...
Look at the service.
Dave, so I have a question, though. Given the fact that there seems to be preferential treatment of Canelo in this jurisdiction...
Yes.
I mean...
Fight in Vegas?
Yes.
Allegiant, if it's close, he's going to win.
Well, look... I thought he got shut out by Mayweather, and CJ Can't Judge Ross had it a draw. Okay? I think a large majority of people thought Golovkin beat Canelo the first fight especially, right?
Yes.
You think Crawford, and again, the politics are a little bit different because Turkey al-Sheikh, but again, Vegas is a money city.
Now, Canelo's not with Oscar anymore.
No, he's not.
Does he still have the Vegas judges in his pocket?
No, well, that's a great look. He hasn't been with De La Hoya in a while, but my question is, who do the politics line up with? Because keep this in mind, Turkey al-Sheikh is the guy that's fronting the money for this. He's closer with Crawford than he is with Canelo. But Vegas, you know this, has always gone for the money. The money is still Canelo. That's a factor we can't. And I look at the set of judges, and there's one judge out there, I'm like, oh, God, really? Really? I'm just telling you, I have my, I don't say doubts, I have my trepidation as to can Crawford actually win a legitimately close fight?
That's a good question. Now, if Triple G fought Canelo, the first two fights, if they were at Madison Square Garden, I think he wins both those fights. Vegas, you got Oscar De La Hoya with his influence in Vegas. All the business he's done with the hotel.
But remember, Oscar's not involved here, though. Remember.
I'm saying back then he was.
Yeah, God. This is what I hope. Crawford's getting paid a lot of money for this. He wanted this fight. He could have had other fights. He just can't live, and I don't think he will, because I think he has some real character from an athletic standpoint. He just can't say me wanting and taking the fight was enough. In other words, the first time he gets hit really hard, he just can't run out of the ring.
We tend to forget you're talking about Canelo being on the downside, having some miles on him. Crawford's older than he is.
He is, by a few years.
He's 38.
And the other thing is, you know, the last 4 years, he's only fought once.
Is that right?
Yeah, there's a lot of ring rust there. But he's been able to overcome it.
What if he wins?
Is he top 10, top 20 pound for pound all time in your view?
But they're going to put him in there with Bivol or Beterbiev?
He could. No. Now we're talking light heavyweight. No.
Maybe Benavidez?
Keep this in mind. The difference is.
What's next for him if he wins?
Canelo is actually really, even though he started at 15, so let's keep that out of. He's really a natural 54, right? Who's at 68 now. Really. Okay. Beterbiev and Bivol are natural 75s, Dave. I think that's a totally.
So what's next for him if he wins, Bud?
I think he walks off into the sunset.
Benavidez?
No, I think he walks off into the sunset. Dave, if he wins, is he top 20 pound for pound all time?
Absolutely.
Wow.
What do you think so?
I don't think he breaks top 10. I think he's somewhere in the top 20. Because think about it. Lightweight champion, undisputed at 40, but it's not exactly like Frankie Randall, Kostya and Aaron Pryor were there, but still, he's undisputed. Undisputed at 47, wins a title at 54 against a difficult guy, and then you beat the biggest star of this past generation, who's still probably one of the top 10 to 15 fighters in the world, undisputed at 68. Dave, that has to be top 20 pound for pound all time.
Now, if Canelo wins, rematch with Bivol?
No. I think they stay 50 feet.
He's got to fight.
Dave, has he given you any inclination that he wants the Mexican? That's a great question. But it seems to me, look at his last 3-4 fights. He's on the 401k portion of his career. He's collecting big checks and banking them. And I've been told by other people more in the know than me that it's been made clear to them they have no interest in fighting Benavidez. And that's a shame. It really is. I think Benavidez deserves to have a fight. Now, Benavidez in November is fighting Anthony Yarde. It's going to be a pretty good fight.
Canelo, right? Didn't it?
No. Anthony Yarde fought Kovalev and Beterbiev, and he actually had moments in both fights. That's a pretty tough fight. But Canelo, to me, I don't know if he's as ambitious. I think that he wants to make money. But, Dave, think about it. If you're guaranteed a certain amount of money, right, and this is one of the problems with boxing, and you get that money regardless of who you face. Human nature says, give me the easiest guy. I've never taken a job saying, no, pay me less money and give me more work. It doesn't work that way. This whole notion that somehow boxers always seek out the greatest challenges, they only do that if the money is greater, Dave. That is the reality.
Let's talk about Moses Itama. I've been reading a lot about him. I hadn't seen him fight yet. They're calling him the next Mike Tyson over there in Great Britain. Southpaw, 20 years old, like Tyson, but 6'4", about 240 pounds. Explosive knockout power in either hand. Keeps the hands up, good technique. Knocked out Dillian White in 2 minutes the other day.
Yeah.
But, Dillian White's a shell.
He's a corpse.
now that he looks awesome, but are they going to rush him in there with Usyk?
No.
Is that a good fight?
I don't believe Frank Warren, who's a veteran promoter who's been around the block, will allow it. I think they're actually looking for Usyk to exit the sport. You're going to have 4 belts that'll be available because they'll all be vacated, and they'll pick their spots.
Who are they going to put him in there with next then?
Well, that's a great question, but keep this in mind. He's 12-0 now, right, Dave? Do you know Mike Tyson in 1986, the year he won the title, he had 13 fights that year alone?
Once a month.
Right, and look, and someone pointed this out to me, and I am very excited about Moses. I think he's going to part the heavyweight seas one day. But Dave, he has been facing very, very, I would say, lumbering, slow heavyweights that have accentuated his athleticism. The one thing about Usyk, he can give you angles, very good on his feet, very high boxing IQ.
He's 38.
And he's 30. Well, that's a young 38, though, Dave.
That's young in the heavyweight.
It is, and it's a young 38.
Yeah.
But Dave, remember that old commercial from Orson Welles about Ernest and Gallo wine? We should make no wine before it's time. I don't think. I think that I believe that the Atama people are thinking, you know what? Let's bide our time and let's wait.
Maybe he gets old.
Because I think he still needs a little bit of...
They're talking about Andy Ruiz Jr.
But Dave...
He has a pretty good chin and he's durable. They're talking about... what's that that guy we talked about before? The guy who fought on the undercard.
Philip Hrgovic.
They're talking about maybe him next. They're talking even about maybe Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury. So what's next for him?
Well, when you look at the Mike Tyson run in 86, didn't he fight Jose Rebalta, Jesse Ferguson, Mitchell Blood Green, and Pinklin? No, Pinklin was a champion. It was Ronaldo Snipes. And remember,
yes,
he gave him a tough fight. He took him the distance.
Quick Tillis gave him a tough
Yes, Quick Tillis. It was Quick Tillis. He hasn't had his Quick Tillis yet. And I think that these guys are thinking, who's our version of Quick Tillis?
Do you see a weakness in him? He's never been clipped and he's never been pushed into the deep water.
So it's not a weakness, it's an unknown.
But have you seen anything?
Not really. I like Moses.
I do too.
Because he's got great athleticism, very good feet, and he can bang and he's sharp. But Dylan White, look, I like Dylan. But my God, that was the corpse of the shell
His weight
of the
was the
ghost.
lowest it had been in years. So
Right, and that's a
there to win?
well, he was there to look good during the weigh-in. I mean, look good in his underwear. But Dave, look, I like Moses, but he's only 20, 21. Time is on their side, and I think there was some talk about 2 years ago, can we beat Tyson's record for being the youngest heavyweight? Well, that's passed. So that's not going to happen. So I don't know at what point what the rush is. Now, me personally, if you made that fight right now, I actually would not mind. I'm curious about it, but I understand. Keep this in mind. Boxing is a business first and foremost.
I had Tom Loeffler on the podcast not too long ago. Vladimir Klitschko looks great. He's 49 now. I saw some pictures of him up on a board, on a paddle board, like 8-pack abs. He's 49 years old, muscular. And I said, is he going to fight again? He said, I'll tell you what. He talks all the time about breaking George Foreman's record for being the oldest heavyweight champion now that he's 49. Yeah. As long as it's not Usyk, he won't fight a countryman.
Yeah.
Another Ukrainian. If somebody else has the belt, he's going to come back and test it.
I had a chance to interview Vladimir in Saudi Arabia last December. We were taken out there. We watched the rematch of Usyk and Tyson Fury for Ring Magazine. And one of the things that came up is that, are you seriously thinking about coming back? He admitted, yes, he is against the right opponent for a title shot. Now, keep this in mind, though, based on what you said. Usyk has basically reunified the division by beating Daniel Dubois.
He's going to have to retire.
Right. So now, based on that, if he keeps to his word, there are no available belts, Dave.
What's next for Usyk?
I understand that they are now considering Joseph Parker, who I believe has earned this shot.
New Zealand.
Right. And Joseph Parker's on a very good stretch of fights. I believe he's no worse than the second or third best heavyweight in the world. But the question then becomes, is he, and again, I hate to say this, but even for a guy like Usyk, they want to get paid well. So if Turki Al-Sheikh does not pay for that fight, and he's forced to take a lot less money, unfortunately, I don't know if they take that risk, but if it was up to me as the commissioner of boxing, which I should be,
yes,
I would actually mandate Joseph Parker. Yes, thank you. And
I'll toast to that.
I'll toast to that. I'll be the Mountain Song Judge Landis of this game. I'll clean this thing up. But that's the fight that I would like to see first and foremost.
My favorite fighter in the world. To me, he reminds me of another Pacquiao, is the monster, Noya Inoue. He is so exciting. Knockout power, 122-pound world champion. Another guy like Kazuto Nakatani, also from Japan.
Oh, there could be a showdown, Jay.
To the same weight class.
Dave.
Would be the biggest fight in the history of Japanese boxing. Is that going to happen?
Yes, my understanding is from Rudy Hernandez, a great friend of mine who trains Junto Nakatani. Junto's moving up now. He's a unified 118. They're going to move up to 122.
How many tickets could they sell for that?
Oh, they're going to go to Tokyo Dome. They'll go 50,000.
They could fill 3 Tokyo.
They could. And by the way, the Inoue fights, when tickets go on sale, they have to have a lottery system. They could literally fill 70, 80, 90,000. So my understanding is that the plan that they have in place is that Junto, well, first of all, let me back up. Inoue is going to fight MJ Akhmadaliev, his WBA mandatory, September 14th. So that's a tough fight. I think he's going to get past it. Junto is now going to abdicate his belts at 118. He's moving up to 22. He's probably going to fight late this year. The tentative plan that I've heard, and I don't think anything has changed, they're going to probably fight next May in Tokyo, Japan. I'm going to try my best to be out there.
That's the best fight in boxing right now.
It's one of them.
I'd love to see
it. It is one of them. Boy, it's a tough one. But Junto is so tall and lanky, and he can really bang with it.
Junto?
Yes, I do, because even though Inoue is great, and he still might be the best fighter in the world, every fighter or every athlete goes through an ascension, right, Dave, physically and athletically. Then they hit that peak, right, the absolute apex. Think Michael Jordan in '93. Then there's a slow decline, right, where they're still great, but it's not quite the apex. I'm getting the sense that Inoue is now on that very slight descent.
How old is he?
He's 31. He's still young.
For a lighter weight class, that's getting up there.
Right, but remember, he's Japanese. Those people are pretty disciplined. They're not like us.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah, so am I. But I still believe that in Junto's size, what has given Inoue problems? Left-handers, right? Louis Neri decked him.
Over the left hook.
Roman Cardenas. I was at that fight. It was shocking to see that. But one thing about Inoue, man, when he gets up, there's almost like a Joe Louis, Felix Trinidad impact. When you send him down, Dave, he better stay down or you're in trouble.
A Korean complimenting a Japanese fighter.
Well, this is a 1940, Dave. We've gotten past that.
Remember that time? We're at a summer league game one time at the Long Beach Arena.
The pyramid.
And we're sitting there under the bat. I'm doing my show, and you're a guest on the show. And there was a game. It was the Taiwanese national team against the African team, a black team. And a kid from Taiwan came down on a fast break.
Dunked on him.
He jumped from the free throw line, cocked it back, and it was unbelievable. He looked like a bird and dunked on the whole team. Steve Kim is up. He's running up and down the line, high-fiving everybody. And I said, what are you so excited about? He's not Korean. Remember what you said? You said he's close enough.
Close enough. In fact, that was the year we saw the debut.
Bynum.
Andrew Bynum.
Absolutely.
I remember that.
Okay, now, a sore subject for boxing purists. What is going on with this Jake Paul-Tank Davis fight? Jake Paul is 6'2". He fought Tyson at 237. He fights normally around 200 to 210. Tank's 5'5", and he's a lightweight at 135. It's going to be an exhibition, but what is going to be? I'm sure Tank probably walks around at 50, 55, which will be for the fight. Jake maybe can get down to 190. What's going to be the weight class here?
I have no idea, Dave. And by the way, what size gloves are they going to use? 8 or 10? And Dave, the purist in me...
Tank's a great fighter. Can he win? With that size differential?
Dave, I wanted to see if he could actually beat Lamont Roach. Okay, and that's disappointing. And I feel bad for Lamont. Lamont did his job. They thought they had the rematch. There was a rematch clause. Obviously, that went by the wayside. But Dave, this is all part of the slow erosion of boxing.
Yes.
So, you know, I...
From a void, right? The Paul brothers?
Well, I mean, look, I give Jake Paul credit. He's running his business. He saw a opening in boxing, and he's run with it. He's done a great job. By the time he fights Tank, I believe November 14th, that'll be his third fight in about 365 days. And I've asked this, has your favorite fighter fought 3 times in the last year? They haven't. Look, putting aside Antonio Inoki, Muhammad Ali, because these fights have been around for years, these novelty fights, because Ali actually fought Alzado. But let me put some context to this. Dave, Ali was basically 50 fights into his career. He had already been through the Thrilla in Manila. He had been through the Rumble in the Jungle. The hay was in the barn. But theoretically, Tank Davis is still kind of building, right? He's still in that prime of his career. We expect better. Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez.
Huge payday for him.
But when boxing, I don't say allowed, but when Floyd Mayweather took on Conor McGregor, and in defense of Floyd had already put in a lot of work, right? Once that took place, and then these other novelty fights took place, it was never going to go backwards, Dave.
Nope.
And
remember when Fox used to have the celebrity boxing matches?
Oh, yeah, Todd Bridges against Vanilla Ice. Yeah.
Greg Brady against Danny Partridge.
Right. And so this is all part of it. I'm not concerned about the future of boxing because it is what it is. But you ask, how did we get here? Like, how did we get to this point, right? And it's a saying that I love. It's a phrase that's been used many times about how did the newspaper business get to where it is, right? Because it's pretty bad. It's a great saying. It was gradual, and then it was sudden. And
inevitable.
Right.
I had Amanda Serrano on my show before her first fight with Katie Taylor. I had her on a couple of times, and this I will give Jake credit for. What he's done for women's boxing, paying them what they're worth, and the undercard fighters on his shows, he pays them a lot.
He does.
And Amanda Serrano told me, I thank God every day for Jake because I was making at most 10 grand for my fights. And after expenses and training.
Well, she makes millions now.
But she said I would be owing money after my fights. He paid Amanda Serrano or Katie Taylor $1 million each for that. He's done a lot for women.
I mean, look, first of all, to be fair, Tank against Jake Paul is not pay-per-views. I don't believe.
Is that going to be a Netflix fight?
I don't think they've actually announced it yet. Remember, Tyson, Jake Paul was not pay-per-view, it was Netflix. And one thing that Jake has done surrounding his events is put together a good undercard. I was out there about 2 months ago.
He pays him more than other promoters.
He pays well. I mean, look, I was out there at the Anaheim Pond. I think they call it the Honda Center now. The undercard was actually good because they co-promoted with Golden Boy. Got to see Zurdo Ramirez against Junior Dorticos. That was a good fight. Floyd Schofield scored a big knockout over Tevin Farmer. And there was another fight that I saw that I really liked. So I want to be fair about this. There are some things that are actually beneficial to the sport of boxing. But, Dave, there's an alarming trend of fighters fighting less. Mm-hmm. The big fight's not happening. And I like when you're a little bit older than me, Dave, but there was a time, and you probably remember it better than me. I watch it on YouTube. When you were a really good fighter, like a Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns, Ray Leonard, you would be a guest of Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show, and all of America knew who you were.
You fight once a month.
And if you watch the Kings documentary on Showtime, which I love because I love those quartet of fighters, three of those four fighters, the three Americans, were invited guests of Ronald Reagan. And it's not a political thing. I'm just saying that the President of the United States said, man, I want to see those guys. That you're important enough to be in the Oval Office. Right? Dave, do you think there's any fighter today? Now, maybe Donald Trump, because he used to be a boxing promoter. But how many fighters today in general you think would be important enough to be invited to the White House?
Can't think of one.
Yeah, can't think of one.
When Trump was promoting fights, he was in Vegas one time, and he was walking around Radio Row. I had him on for 2 segments.
Really?
Around 20 minutes. This was like 2005, 2006. I'm not the brightest guy in the world. Why didn't I save those tapes?
Yeah, I mean, Dave, people forget.
And you know what? He was the nicest guy. I mean, he was shy, soft-spoken.
Look, I know people.
And the breaks, he asked me how I got started in the business, and I told him, I went around and sold time. He said, that's a great story. I'm going to remember. But, when the camera's on, he hams it up. But he's really
I know people that have dealt with Donald Trump, and let me just say this. No one's perfect. We're all flawed. But in general, I hear very good things about him. People do not understand how big of an impact he made on boxing in the 80s with Trump Plaza.
Oh, yeah.
He did Tyson Spinks. He also did Roberto Duran, Iran Barkley.
Cooney Spinks.
Did he do that fight? Wow, interesting. Yeah. So I don't know where boxing's going to be in 20 years, Dave. I do know this, and I don't want to be overly cynical because I've been accused of being such, and I don't necessarily deny it. I don't think it's in as good a place as it was 20 years ago, Dave, when you'd go out to Radio Row, we'd do shows, we'd hang out, we'd have fun, and you'd go out there, at least 5-6 times a year, right? At least. Yeah, and you kind of felt like, hey, it's still kind of important. Dave, I'm just telling you, every year there seems to be this erosion in terms of the interest of the sport.
You know why I think September 13th is such a great night for fight fans? We got a really intriguing, great main event with Canelo against Terence Crawford. It's on Netflix, which means it's not pay-per-view. Most of us have Netflix anyway, so it's not pay-per-view, which is a great thing. We can all watch these fights. But the undercard, Steve, Fernando Vargas Jr. and King Callum Walsh.
That's an intriguing
Two
fight.
undefeated fighters coming up. That is going to be a very
I
good
like
fight.
that. And look, we're not getting Butterbean and Mia St. John, and we're not just getting Cowboys versus Indians.
Right.
And this is going to be interesting to see what happens.
Who are you liking that fight?
I like Callum.
Because of the hand speed? And
I
power?
do, yeah. Overall seasoning. But I do, there's a theory that if this fight does very well, and I don't think the numbers will be what they were with Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. I think that's a special category. They may have had a live audience of like 60 million, Dave. I'm talking. That's amazing. That's Super Bowl, almost like whatever. But if this fight does well, I wonder if Netflix becomes a network that says, okay, we're going to invest into the sport. Because as of right now, Dave, I wrote this for Ring Magazine. Dave, you know the first time since, I believe, 1944 with the Gillette Cavalcade of Sports, which is basically Friday night fights, right? With Top Rank's deal ending with ESPN, so that there is no regular television component to American boxing at this moment.
It's amazing.
Think about that. Since
Maybe Netflix.
Yeah.
Gonna be the one.
And then Netflix is the new TV, along with YouTube. So everything's now streaming, but the future of boxing, I think, I don't say it's I think it's very interesting.
You got to give credit to Fernando Sr. and to Jr. and to King Callum Walsh for taking this fight. These are two young, undefeated fighters. Normally, you wouldn't want to take that fight because they're heading for title shots.
Right.
Their promoter. This is a big risk for both of them. I know Walsh is a 4-1 favorite.
Right.
Fernando Sr. taking this fight is a big risk for him.
Right, and he's got a lot of pride. And I know Fernando Vargas Jr. wanted this fight. Also, Christian Mbili's going to be on the card. He's an all-action fighter.
And Sergey Boyachuk.
Sergey Boyachuk, who's certainly Brandon Adams. Brandon Adams, yeah.
That was a good
So, look, it's a good undercard. I'm interested to see how it does against the full day of college football. You know?
Yes.
So, I think, look, the worst thing that can happen to boxing is if Crawford just runs around the ring. If it's not a good fight, you might actually turn off more people.
I've never seen him do that.
I'm with you. I've never actually seen him go up two weight classes. But I don't think he's ever gone up two weight classes either, though, Dave. So.
Now, you look at the Fernando Jr., undefeated. Amato, the middle son, undefeated. Emiliano, the youngest son.
That's the star.
I think he is a superstar.
Well, I wrote in one.
He's going to be a household name.
Dave,
That's a good fight.
my most recent article for Snack.com is I said, who's the future?
Emiliano Vargas.
I said, who are the 4 or 5 guys that can carry on the mantle? It was Bam Rodriguez, Virgil Ortiz, Jaron Boots Ennis. Who else did I put in there? But Emiliano was first and foremost one of those guys I said that could be one of the pillars of the sport.
He's sensational.
Straight out of Central Casting. He looks the part. He's a very mature individual. He's very well-grounded, and he's getting his master. Dave, I've been at a couple of this fight. He's hitting right through people right now. He's got a big future.
The accuracy, the hand speed, he's sensational.
And his dad told me, he goes, Steve, the stuff that I did at age 20 against Winky Wright, Corte, Trinidad, not happening. He made it very clear to me, he goes, Steve, what I did, I wouldn't even do it again. So that career is going to be much different.
Well, that does it for us. Another edition of Dave Smith Unleashed. Thanks to Rokka Whiskey Bar and Grill here in beautiful downtown Bellflower. Love having the drinks in. It's great to be able to drink on the air. We could never do that before. And thanks to MTS Transportation, our great sponsor for all your freight, shipping, and trucking needs. You need to go no further than MTS Transportation to put this all together today. So make sure you support them. Of course, come down here to Rokka Whiskey Bar and Grill if you want to have a couple of drinks, want to have some food. And we got one more left, Steve, Kim, and I. When he comes back, we're going to talk a little National Football League right here on Dave Smith Unleashed.
Dave Smith Unleashed brought to you by MTS Transportations. And mention the Dave Smith Unleashed podcast and get 20% off on your next shipment for all your shipping, trucking, and freight needs. There's only one business to call, and that's MTS Transportations at 800-640-6873. MTS Transportations, 800-640-6873.